Welcome to Mondo and the Big Guy. My name is Mondo, Armando, and
I'm the big guy.
the guy over here is the Big Guy. Today we have a really cool guest. I know Dave is extremely thrilled
Oh
to
my God.
have him. It's former MLS soccer player Mike Grella. Um, he had a pretty good career in the MLS, and he also played in England as well.
He's a local guy.
Yeah, he's a local.
Glen Cove guy. I don't know him personally. Mondo knows him really well from the gym and from around town. But he's, God, 5, 6, 7 years younger.
Yeah, I think he is probably 34 or 33 now, so he's probably like 4 years younger than us.
So he was in my my sister's years. I wonder if he actually had my mom in school.
I don't know. That's a very good question. Something we can ask him when he does come on the show.
All right, cool. Yeah, so he's a soccer player, and if you don't know, I'm a huge no, I'm not a soccer fan at all.
So I'm trying to get him to actually pick up some soccer and actually watch it. European soccer is amazing. MLS soccer is getting there, but I think it's going to take a lot longer. To get me into it involved.
So when did MLS come about? It was 10, 15 years ago?
I would probably say around 15. Not actually, yeah, probably about 15. Close, yeah, about 15, 16 years now.
Yeah.
I never got into it. I couldn't get into it. I tried. It just
is it just not high quality soccer?
It's so harsh for me to say that, but to me, in my point of view, yes, it wasn't something that the quality wasn't there for me. And the names also, I think the names of the players make a big deal.
Yeah.
I know they try to get star players to come over here, at a certain age where they can play for a European team still, but they would be on the bench mostly, and they would come in as a substitute probably within like 10 minutes to go or 15 minutes to go to get the the final push if they were down or anything. But
so MLS is at this point a little bit lower of the tier of soccer than say some of the European leagues, like what's the Italian league that you watch?
So it depends on who you're asking. MLS isn't even close to actually any of the 4 top leagues, which would
when we were playing FIFA. Remember we played FIFA?
Yeah,
they were always like ranked like 20 points lower than
what do you mean, the players?
No, like the overall team. Like they have the ranking for
like 60s or 50s or something like that compared to like a Juventus side, which is dominant in City. But I mean, as far as the leagues are concerned, I don't even know if I would put them in the top 10 maybe. Yeah. And you're talking about a whole bunch of leagues across Europe.
I mean, I guess I can compare it to football a little bit. Like football has some of those like lower tier leagues that are still professional, but the players are still high quality. They're just not. They didn't get their shot.
I think soccer's a little bit different. I don't think if you're not good, like really, really, really good, you're not going to get your shot. You'll play in lower divisions. I mean, each league in Europe has different divisions. Like when we get Mike on, we'll speak. Mike did play for it would be like a Division 2 in England, but that league is phenomenal at that level. Also, it could compete with MLS. It could definitely compete with the Spanish league, the Italian league. It's I don't know how you can compare those.
Soccer is one of those games where, like it's always 1-2 or 2-3. There's a lot of low scoring games. So, if you have a subpar team, you're gonna get blown out pretty easily, and it's gonna be exploited easily, right? Like if you're playing an MLS team versus a really high
quality,
high quality European team, say, it's going to be a huge disparity. Or you think they'll still be a couple goals off?
I mean, they could possibly score. I mean, anyone has a chance to score a goal. One kick, it doesn't matter. You can score on that. But if it's just an MLS team versus like a high-ranking European team, they're going to get demolished, in my eyes, personally. Now, I know what they do here is they'll do the MLS All-Stars, so you'll get the best players from each team versus a club from Europe. And, yeah, they can compete with them. I don't know if the European teams are being nice and letting them
I don't think that. I don't think they were not going to be nice. They're going to want to compete. Um, I don't know. Soccer to me is a little bit foreign. So questions that I'm going to ask Mike are going to be like, can one player dominate? Which you could probably answer this. Could you have one amazing player like a Ronaldo or something that'll dominate the game so much that you don't need a great supporting structure around them, or do you need?
No, you would definitely need a supporting structure. Now, Ronaldo and Messi, they're on a completely another level. I mean, there's always the 1-2 comparison of who's better than the other one. I honestly, they're kind of different players. To me, I think right now I would say Messi's number one in my eyes, and then Ronaldo's number two, and then you can go down the line with 3, 4, and 5. There's a lot of young
guys. So
stars.
you've been watching the Jordan, or you watched the Jordan documentary, right? So he was so dominant that you could have probably put, any 4 guys with him, and he would have been his team would have been in the top 4 teams. They probably not wouldn't won all those championships.
No, absolutely not.
But if you put enough role players around him, even if they weren't amazing, he would still dominate so much that he could win. So like a LeBron James or something like that. It's not that kind of sport, is what you're saying.
No, I mean, because you still need the other 10 people to contribute. So you would need somebody in the midfield who would be like your assist leader to be able to pass you the ball, to give you the opportunity. Against lower teams that are ranked lower in that league, possibly he could definitely dominate. But on a top 4 team, no, you can't. You need players. It's a team game. You need them. So like I said, I mean, it'd be interesting to find out. When he played in Europe versus how he played here in the MLS. How they played with each other, and we could figure out a couple of things, because I know he did play with some good players in Europe and MLS also. So it's interesting to find out.
I'd like to see how the dominant players carried themselves and all that good stuff. Why don't we invite him on?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Yo!
What's up, man?
Can you hear me?
Hey.
What's up, Mike?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much at all. Just running around, doing a million different things and keeping busy.
Very cool.
So nothing really. But
I like the jerseys behind you.
Oh, yeah. I got some good ones. Playing in the MLS gets you some good jerseys. I got.
Is that all from the MLS, from playing in the MLS, all those jerseys?
No, I played in England for 6 years also, so I got some of them from England. But I got some really good ones. You might you're not a soccer guy, are you?
No, I am. He's not.
I'm not a big soccer guy, but
so that's why I was trying to get you on, so we can kind of convince him to start watching some soccer.
Yeah. But you'll recognize some of these guys. I got some good ones: Modric, Drogba, Rooney, David Villa, Raul.
Yeah, I can't see the Raul one so much, but wow.
I got Pirlo and Gerrard and my good friend Ramon Nunez, who played in the World Cup for Honduras, Dos Sena from Liverpool, and I got Obafemi Martins. I don't know.
So those guys gave those to you, or
these are guys I all played against that I got their jersey when playing against them. Yeah.
Nice, and they sign them for you, or is it like kind of a thing of a sign of respect?
Normally they don't sign them. You just swap it like right after the game. So they're not normally signed. Actually, Pirlo's I have signed, which is strange. I don't know even why I have that one signed. But no, they're not signed. They're normally like game worn, stink.
Well, he didn't sign it like right after the game ended. He didn't just like pull out a pen and be like, "Here you go, this is for you."
No, it might have been in the locker room afterwards. To be fair.
Very cool. So Mike played for Glen Cove, where we're from, actually. And you were pretty much like a first team all-star for Long Island, correct?
Yeah, I was. I guess I never looked at and never knew and understood all the rankings and awards or anything. But I was going into college from Glen Cove. I was like in the top 3 in the whole country.
Wow.
So I was a highly recruited college soccer player. I had opportunities to go to some of the best universities in the world: Harvard, Princeton, Yale. I ended up going to Duke. because I just thought it had the right mix of athletics and sports. So I ended up going to Duke. I loved it. Spent 3.5 years there, and then went to play.
So is Duke a powerhouse for soccer?
Uh, when I was there, they were. No, they are. They are. They got a great program. They got some really good people involved now. Facilities are second to none. They've been in a little slump, to be honest with you, soccer-wise, over the last, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years. Like a little slump for them, but they're definitely improving now. And great program, great head coach, and John Kerr there now. So they'll be a powerhouse again soon, for sure.
Yeah, that must have been. I mean, I don't know where you guys ranked, team wise, but Duke is obviously a great basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think a lot of their success in the Division I success and people why they want to go there is because of the soccer program, the sports programs, or do you think it's just an amazing school to begin with?
Yeah, it's such a good mix of a school. I loved it there. The kids that don't go there for sports have literally perfect SAT scores, and I've heard of people with perfect SAT scores not even getting in.
Wow.
You need to have like perfect SAT scores, and then you also need to have like a ton of community service and lab research, and like you need to have all these extra things. So it's not that straightforward to get in. A little cool fact about Duke that a lot of people don't know is there's only about, actually could be wrong about this, but it's really small classes. When I was there, I think it was anywhere between 1,500 and 2,000 kids in a class. Mm-hmm. So like the sophomore or like the freshman year, they only take like 2,000. I don't know if that's changed, and don't quote me on that, but it's basically it's a really small school, so it's really difficult to get in.
Mm-hmm. Now you must have had great grades then to get in there, even if you were a great athlete. I don't think they make too many exceptions for people like that anymore.
Yeah, my grades were pretty good. They were not exceptional. They were pretty good. But my soccer ability, it was really high at the time. I had probably a better youth career than I did a professional career, if you really want to look at it, because I was at the top in the youth game. Mm-hmm. But my grades were good. I mean, I tell kids now, I do some personal sessions for some clients, and first thing I say to them is like, got to do both. Got to do good in school. You got to do good. You got to be the full package. It's not good enough to just be good at the sport or good in school. You need to be the full package and be able to organize it all and be disciplined and get shit done on a schedule every single day. So it's hard work.
So besides Duke, what other colleges were actually looking at you?
My mom actually saved them. I got this like big file cabinet. She saved all the letters that I got, and it was literally, you name the college, and I had it. There's probably 300 letters in there from some of the top colleges all over the place. Stanford, UCLA, Yale, Princeton, Harvard, like literally everywhere.
And Duke was your number one choice. There wasn't even like anything that was remotely close that you were thinking like, flip-flop, toss of the coin, like I want to go either Duke or to another college.
Yeah, I mean, they had a really good soccer program at the time. But when I started doing my research, and to be fair, I probably didn't make enough of an educated decision, but I have no regrets. I'm really happy that I ended up picking Duke. But for me, it was no-brainer. Top school, top 10 school in the country, possibly even in the world. So for me, it was straightforward shot. I felt like some of the better, maybe better academic schools like Harvard and Yale and stuff like that, I just felt like they didn't have the athletics. And I was able to get myself a full scholarship at Duke, which with Ivy League schools, I'm not sure how the financial aid works. I never even got that far. As soon as I knew I had the chance to go to Duke for free, I was just.
What'd you study when you were at Duke? What was your major?
I majored in sociology, which I don't even actually know what.
I'm not sure what it is either. Right. So you mentioned that you do private sessions now. So are you using some of the stuff that you learned from soccer or from college to do private sessions? Are you a coach? What are you doing for a career after?
Yeah, so I took some time off right when I stopped playing. I stopped playing about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I took about a year off and just kind of spent time with my family, try to figure out where home base was going to be and where I knew I wanted to be involved in the game still. So I just kind of sit back and really see and also wait for opportunities to arise. A really cool opportunity came to me, which I took. was being one of the head domestic scouts for FC Cincinnati, which is the MLS team in Ohio.
Very cool.
Very cool team. I mean, the president, the owner, the GM, my boss, Hunter Freeman, who's a friend of mine who I played with and against. Such a good group of guys, such a good organization. They asked me to come on as a head scout, so head domestic scout. So I've done that. I've been doing that for the last since January, so whatever that is, 6 months. So
yep.
Loving it. So that's what I do full time. I look at players and give reports on them and everything along the line with in terms of how the club is running and the current plans we have, which is really fun. So I do that. I play landlord a lot. I have a bunch of units that I saved up a lot of money when I was playing and just got addicted to real estate. So I do that on the side, which is literally almost like another full-time job. And then just recently now, with everything happening, personal sessions, I've had some really, really cool clients, people who were really serious about the game, who want to improve their game and get to the next level, whatever that level may be, have been calling me, and I've been doing some work with them, which I'm really actually enjoying the coaching side of it also. So that's what my days are busy with. And then when I'm not doing that, I got the 3 Rugrats that I'm running around.
Nice.
Yeah, you do. So, quick question. So now, after Duke, you played there for 3.5 years at Duke?
Yeah. So I graduated 6 months early.
So, okay. So 3.5 years. Now you got drafted by the MLS team, correct? Toronto?
Got drafted. So what happens in the MLS is it's a single entity. So you're actually owned and paid by the league. So a lot of people don't understand this, and it's very difficult because it's not like other sports, but you're owned by the league. So what happens is when I was going to come out and play, when I was finished college, I was going to come out into the draft, the MLS calls you.
Okay.
And basically is like, this is the deal that we're going to give you. And then no matter what team takes you, they have to give you that deal. So
that's interesting. I didn't know that.
What's that?
I did not know that. So you're owned by the MLS once you get out of college before you get in the draft?
If you accept their proposal. So the proposal comes from the MLS.
Oh, wow.
Like the actual contract that you're going to have to sign. Okay.
The actual contract. At the time, it was called Generation Adidas, which are the top players coming out of the college class. I think there's about 10 of them that get over $100,000, or it's between 100 and 200,000 or whatever it is. And that's a lot for a rookie in soccer in the MLS. It's obviously things have progressed. The league has grown so much, so it's better now. But I got an offer from the MLS. I was probably going to go the top 3 picks in the draft. And I couldn't come to an agreement with the MLS. Part of it was I didn't like they were not flexible enough in their offer, I felt like personally. Okay. But also some of it was me just being young and like having this ambition and to go play in Europe and probably I'm not educated enough, because had I stayed in the MLS the way it's grown, and it would have suited my game better. So probably maybe that hurt me. But to make a long story short, yeah, I declined their offer.
Okay.
And made it clear that I was going to decline their offer and go to Europe. And I didn't have a deal in Europe or anything. I was just going to go on tryouts. And when I declined their offer, obviously the teams don't want to draft you because there's a good chance that you're not going to show up.
Correct.
So they don't want to waste their draft pick. That's why I ended up going picked 45th for Toronto. Toronto was basically like, look, we'll take a shot on him, even though we know he's not going to play in the MLS. Maybe he doesn't make it in Europe. Maybe he comes back and we own his rights and he has to come back to Toronto.
Okay.
So Toronto, that's why I went so late in the draft, but that's basically how that mechanism of the draft works. So from there, then I went to England, and I signed for what is like one of the biggest teams in England, but they were in the 3rd division because they were in a lot of money problems.
Yeah, they were in League One, right?
League
at the time?
What's that?
They were at League One at the time when you signed with them.
Correct. League One, which is a brutal league, by the way, very physical league. But they're probably the top 6 biggest clubs in the country. And if you experience it one day, which I recommend everyone should, whoever loves soccer should go watch a Leeds United game. The passion and the energy in the stadium is unmatched anyway.
Yeah, and that's Ellen Road, correct? That stadium?
Ellen Road. Yes, so much history behind it. 40,000 every game. The city just treated me so well. People took care of me. It was surreal experience for me. The level that we trained at, the level that we played at, the things we accomplished. We ended up getting promoted to the championship, which is a very good league. So I stayed at Leeds for 2 years. And from Leeds, I bounced around England a lot, trying to find the right mix of the coach, trying to find the right mix of the style of play. Obviously, never could. Played for a lot of old school managers that I just didn't agree with and didn't like their way of thinking, their way of training. Also 100% on me, young kid, sometimes bad attitude, maybe sometimes just expected way too much. I wanted to play all the time, and when I didn't, I was not okay with that. So from there, I bounced around England a lot. Then I decided to, I went to Motherwell in Scotland and actually was there for like a week. And then because I had gone on loan too much, I was not able to play there. So I was at Motherwell for a little while in Scotland. Then I went for a year in Denmark. I played in the Superliga, which is the top league there.
Yeah, which was the team was called Weisberg or something like that, correct?
Viborg, yeah.
Yeah, Viborg.
Yeah, and it's good little town, good little city, whatever. But 4 hours from Copenhagen, which is like Denmark's best city, you know?
Yeah, of course.
So it kind of sucked because I was like a 4-hour train ride away from the good city. So I often would drive with my wife, with a couple friends that I'm still friends with, often drive to Germany. Germany is actually closer, like Hamburg is actually closer.
Oh, wow.
Germany for the day. And cool thing about living in Europe is like you could just hop on a plane 1 hour, you're in Italy, 1 hour, you're in wherever you want to go, you know? So did that a lot in my time in Europe, but played in Denmark for a year. And then after Denmark, decided to come back to America to play in MLS for 4 seasons, 3 with the Red Bulls, 1 with Columbus Crew in Ohio. And that's it. The rest is history.
So I want to talk about more Leeds United. So Dave was asking me a couple questions because, you know, he wanted to know a little more about soccer. So the way I followed you is the website Yanks Abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we had mutual friends at the time. And I was like, okay, I want to follow this kid because he's from Glen Cove and I'm a huge soccer fan. So you're at Leeds United. And like you said, Leeds United is a big club. I mean, they were one of the biggest clubs. Well, you were saying like people should experience Leeds United. I believe it's on Amazon. I believe it's called Leeds United. You can actually watch I think they had 2 seasons of following the club through the Champions League and almost making it to the Premiership. That experience there, you played with Jermaine Beckford as well, who was actually a really talented forward as well, correct?
Yeah. Super. I wouldn't maybe even say he's definitely talented, but I wouldn't say he was just like, you watch a lot of Italian soccer, so he was
Correct.
more like a Filippo Inzaghi type striker, like just always in the right spot at the right time and just so quick and so smart. Like his movement, his quickness, he scored a ton of goals. I wouldn't even say he was the most technical player. He probably not a good hold-up player. So when I say that, I mean like holding the ball in the midfield
Right.
team to come up. He just was like unbelievable in the box, like incredible to watch in the box. So dangerous. A center back's nightmare. So yeah, I played with him for 2 years. Became really good friends with him. I really liked Jermaine. But we had a lot of good players. Every player in that team ended up playing in the Premier League, or like 90% of them.
Did you play with Snodgrass as well? Sorry.
Yeah. Who was the most?
I played with Snodgrass as well. He's probably one of the funniest guys I've ever played with, and he's a guy, again, I have a lot of respect for him. I really like him. He's a Scottish guy. My first away trip for Leeds United, I think he was my roommate, or it might have been my second away trip. And he's just butt naked on the bed. He's not being funny. He's just
yeah, that's you.
The European soccer guys and jokes are a lot more like raw, I feel like. So he's just butt naked on the bed, just laying there, and you know, he's just asking me questions about my life and about where I came from, and then we're just getting to know each other more. So, but such a funny guy, such a good player as well.
Yeah, because I know now he's in the Premier League, but like I said, I was following for a while. That's interesting. Was there any like particular player that you looked up to growing up that you wanted to become like?
Yeah, for me, it was Roberto Baggio,
Oh, man.
100%. He was my idol. 94 World Cup. Even though he missed the penalty at the very end of the World Cup, like leading up to that, he was just magical. And to me, I wanted to be like him. I tried to play like him, and maybe it doesn't look like that at all in my career. But I felt like I was playing like him, and I felt like I wanted to be like him. So all the great number 10s of Italy. Then I moved on from Baggio when he started to get a little older and phased out of the game. I started to really watch Del Piero, Francesco Totti. These were guys that like made the game look effortless. It's the reason why like everybody likes Michael Jordan over LeBron. Just the way he does it, the way he looks when he does it, the way it's just so effortless. It's just so intelligent, so natural. And that's what I try to always make my game. I try to make my game like a very technical, smart, not exert a lot of energy type of game, because I just really respected those guys making it look being so effective with so little or less energy than the other guys. You know.
Gotcha.
So your game was a little bit more flow oriented. It wasn't so choppy and powerful. So if you could compare yourself to an athlete like LeBron or Jordan, who was the most dominant player that you played with? Who was the person that you think that was the best person that you ever saw on the field at the same time as you?
I gotta say that I played with. You're saying or against?
Played with or against, best person that you've ever stepped on the field with. Could be an opponent, could be on your team.
Yeah, I mean, I was really fortunate enough to play with a lot of these guys that are on the back wall. Like Andrea Pirlo, got to play against him 2 or 3 times. For me, he was a huge idol. Won the World Cup, Italian legend, no question. So he's probably the best player. Although when I played against him, he didn't play well, and we beat them up pretty bad. So he's probably the best player I've ever stepped on the field with and played against. Another guy that's a good friend of mine, one of my best friends, is David Soma. I'm not sure if a lot of people know his name. The Leeds fans know his name, and he's a South African international. He's living in Long Island now, but unbelievable talent. I mean, unbelievable. He had to stop playing through injury, but talk about a guy that I trained with for 2 or 3 years. The level that he had was incredible. And he was literally on the verge of exploding. I mean, technical, both feet, shooting, heading, speed, strength, had the most well-rounded game of anyone I've ever seen. And he was about to really burst onto the scene, and a shame that he got that injury.
You see a lot of players in soccer are ending their careers earlier than they should because of injuries?
Yeah, I mean, so I stopped playing because of an injury, some cartilage damage that I had in my left, on the end of my left femur bone. The game has basically become, just like every sport, has become so athletic that, you're jumping, sprinting, stopping on a dime so much more than guys used to do back in the day. And even though, like, obviously the medical teams and the physios and all that stuff the technology has gotten a lot better, the game is demanding a lot more from players. So I've read and seen that a lot of guys are getting little cartilage issues and little nagging injuries. That
it's all over every sport. I mean, you probably watch other sports besides soccer, but football players are just so big now that they can't function on a regular basis. They have a 4 or 5 year career. They're all muscle, and they tear a ligament because their muscles are too big for the ligaments, and the bone density is just not there. They get too big too quick. They've been playing for how many years, since they were 4 or 5 years old, nonstop the same sport, so they get overuse injuries, which is probably along the same lines of soccer, because kids start soccer at 3-4 years old now. I mean, and they could be playing that sport until they're 34, 35 years old. That's a lot of wear and tear in your body. So I'm sure that's probably something you went through.
Yeah, it's same exact. I mean, I was a kid from New York, very, I guess you would say, like, for what I accomplished, I probably beat the odds for a regular kid from Long Island, but I never had an easy career. I never had someone like help me through my career. My dad's an Italian immigrant. He's a chef. He didn't know a lot about soccer. He taught me a lot about the game in itself, but didn't really know nutrition, how to manage, how to exercise. So I was a guy that literally worked so hard for every single contract, for every single year that I continued to play. I had to really prove myself. I was running in the street a lot, like crazy amount of miles, like every day, 5 to 10 miles a day in the streets, training hard every day. I mean, at Leeds, the pitch was so hard everywhere in my career. And then in the MLS, there's a lot of turf fields. So at Red Bull, they were known for how hard we work and how hard we train. So my body over time just was like really exhausted, really stiff, really tight. And then eventually I had a little niggle with this cartilage damage that it must be right in the right spot, because every time I get to a 45, I just basically get like kind of like a stabbing pain and I just lose power. So yeah, your body, as a professional athlete, your body takes a beating, man. But I would say to like young kids out there that, you know, take care of your body, stretch, eat right, drink a lot of water, always take care of yourself. But it's worth it. It's worth the push. It's worth the stories. It's worth, you know, you get a little head start in life financially, which is nice. But it's definitely worth all the hard work. I would say I'm very, very happy that I did that.
I never went to your level in sports. I played college football at a Division III school, and then I played a little amateur afterwards in some leagues that I probably shouldn't have been strapping helmet and shoulder pads on, because those guys were just looking to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm paying for it every day. I mean, soccer is so high impact and so fast. It's, you know, it's like comparable to a hockey where you're getting hit by a Mack truck sometimes. And, you know, those guys are just intense athletes, and everyone's built like, you know, a tight end now. No,
Yeah.
You know, no one's 5'4", you know, everyone's 6 feet tall and they're lanky and they're strong and they're big.
Yeah.
So
I'm 5'11". I'm like 100, played at 175 pounds. I'm a pretty thick guy, pretty strong. I was like almost always consistently the smallest and one of the weaker guys on the field.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, guys.
Yeah,
yeah,
sure.
no problem.
It's a little kid, and a little kid. He jumps
So,
in. It's awesome.
So yeah, no, I was one of the smaller guys, and the first thing people say when they used to come to Red Bull Arena to watch me play, first thing they say is like, holy shit, like I can't believe how fast and how hard these guys are banging into each other. Because, you know, when you go watch like a kids play or you go watch like a high school game, you normally don't see that. But when professional players are fighting for a ball, it's pretty
rugby-esque. Yeah.
So
yeah,
wait.
I mean, nowhere near rugby, but there is a lot of like random angles and hits. Like in rugby, I feel like a lot, and also in football, unless you're a wide receiver, you know kind of like how you're going to get tackled or hit.
Yeah.
But like in soccer, there's a lot of like awkward angles, like balls in the air, balls on the floor, guys behind you, guys on the sides of you. So there's a lot more like variable of injury, I feel like.
Okay, so now staying with all those injuries, how many of it's actually fake when you get clipped?
I mean, people always say that to me. They're like, why do soccer players roll around on the ground? So soccer players run like an average of like anywhere between 8 and 10 miles a game.
Mm-hmm.
So normally when we get clipped or whatever, it does. First of all, it does hurt. You ever get kicked in the shin?
Yeah, no, it hurts.
Or like nipped in the ankle or something? It hurts a lot. So it does hurt for that split second. But then we roll around, and I think a lot of it's just to get like some rest, you know?
Okay, no, it's because that's something that people have always asked me.
I've seen Mondo do that at a party. I mean,
that's because that has nothing to do with getting clipped on anything.
Yeah, I've always wondered about the flopping and stuff like that. You see those videos online, and this guy's, you know, barely gets touched, and he's rolling around. He's holding his eye like he got shot by a BB gun or something like that. It's
a mixture of rest, and also like obviously if you can get the other guy carded, yellow card or a red card or whatever, it's giving your team an advantage. So there's a little bit of acting in it and stuff like that in it too. I mean, you're trying to win at all costs.
Is that taught? Are you taught that though? In the academies?
It's so strange. I was never taught it, but I was good at it. And I don't think guys ever like learn it, but they just do it.
Pick it up.
That would be a tough thing. Okay, today's lesson is we're going to roll around and cry. It's not something that most coaches are going to teach.
I was just curious about it.
I've had coaches in football and like wrestling teach me cheap shots. Like I went to Glen Cove High School also, and I was, you know, me and Mondo are about 5-6 years older than you, and we had some great coaches there. But you know, at college and stuff like that, I had people teach me how to like, you know, throw some jabs into the gut and, you know, grab some stuff, you know, grab some nuts if you have to to get by. I mean, it's part of the game, so you got to do it.
Yeah, no, same. Like we have all those little cheap things that we do, like you know, step on each other's feet on purpose on corner kicks, or, you know, there's ways to jump to protect yourself and kind of keep your elbows out, and if they bang into your elbow, it's their problem. And there's a bunch of little tricks and little.
Any
things.
fist fights that you got on the field? Like you ever get into a big brawl?
In high school, we used to, Glen Cove High School.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, that we know.
We got to a point in Glen Cove High School where, and we had a good team, very talented team.
Yeah.
There was like 4 or 5 like really good players.
Did you guys win you guys went to the Long Island Championship?
I think we lost in the final or semifinal.
Yeah.
I don't really actually remember. Like I said, all the awards and leagues, and I don't like even know what's what. I just played. I just enjoyed playing, and I played hard all the time. But I don't know what that team actually ended up winning. I knew we were very competitive, but there was like a streak. We fought like 4 games in a row, and not like, you know, what you see on TV, like all like the little handbags.
Yeah, of course.
Like we like fought, like it got into big brawls, like kicking people and hitting people. Back in the day, I feel like it was just more not acceptable. That's never acceptable, but I think it was just less strict. There was no real rules against it or anything like that, and it was kind of like.
Well, there was no cameras either to be able to capture these moments.
Yeah, well, there's never going to be cameras at high school games. I guess maybe there is with the parents and stuff like that. But yeah, we got into that was the beginning and the end of my fighting on the side, which I'm happy about. But in England it can get pretty rough. I mean, guys are very good at setting you up for hard tackles or. When you get in the box in England, like it's difficult to.
Any run-ins with hooligans, like outside of the stadium? They're called hooligans, right?
Yeah, they are called hooligans.
Played against. So this is actually a story maybe a lot of people don't know. I never really told the story. Played against Manchester United in Old Trafford in front of 80-something thousand.
Was that like the best stadium you ever played in?
I got to play in Tottenham Stadium, and where else did I play? Probably, yeah, no question, actually. It's probably the best stadium I've ever played in with the history and
yeah, of course.
Aside from Ellen Road, but 80-something thousand, surreal for me. We go there, and we're playing Manchester United in the FA Cup. So for those listeners that don't know, Leeds United and Manchester United are historic big rivals. Fucking hate each other.
Wow.
They're separated by one highway. It's like 45 minutes. They're 45 minutes away from each other, but they absolutely hate each other. So we're playing there, and we're playing against Manchester United, who's in the Premier League, who's at the peak of their powers. You know, Rooney and you name it. They had everybody. Berbatov, great players. Sir Alex Ferguson was the coach still. So this is their peak power.
Yeah, this is their peak. Yep.
We come along from League One with legitimate players making, I don't even know what our salary cap was. Probably not even 10% of what they were making. Probably our whole team didn't even make what Rooney was making.
Yeah.
Show up at Old Trafford, we win 1-0. Crazy. 10,000 Leeds fans singing louder than like 70,000 Manchester United fans. Incredible experience. That day, so dumb, I walk out of the stadium with Luciano Becchio, who's a good friend of mine.
Yes, and he's a good player too, Luciano Becchio.
Very good player, Argentinian guy. He was basically Jermaine's partner, striking partner, and I was basically one of the first guys off the bench.
Yep.
And so dumb of us. We parked there because we had wanted to go somewhere after, or we had a couple days off, and I don't know. I don't know what the logistics of our trip was. So we get out of the stadium, and we're walking in the street after the game in Manchester. And we got our Leeds, our Leeds kit on. And there's guys like walking around causing trouble. It's not like, it's not like a joke. Like these are actual hooligans. Like they'll hurt you, and they're nuts, you know? So they're like guys walking around like with masks on and with like their heads down or their hoodies over their head. And as we're walking, this one guy, man, he takes a beer, like fucking huge full beer, and he just smashes it right against Becchio's face. Like first the beer and then just crunched it on his face, man. No. And there was like 5 or 10 of them, and we turned around like we were going to do something because just, natural reaction.
course.
And I grabbed and I'm like, let's get the fuck out of here. So thank God, like that's all that happened. It was actually not bad, but that was our run-in with a hooligan, man. Talk about like, you know, worrying about your safety. Like it's pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean they're extremely passionate fans there. It's not like here. I've never seen a fan base here that's as passionate as European clubs. It's unreal.
Yeah, I mean,
They're getting there. I mean, you look at like Atlanta United, they get like over 80,000, and fans are incredible. I played there a few times against them, so that's the closest thing I've seen so far in Europe. But even in Seattle, some nights in Red Bull Arena are pretty good. Cincinnati, they get a huge attendance in Cincinnati, and they have some great fans. So it's getting there. It's definitely getting there, the atmosphere and everything else. But I haven't seen anything like Leeds United yet. No,
So
anything like Leeds against Manchester that day. That was incredible.
that's awesome. So now, okay, so how long were you in Europe for?
I was in Europe I went when I was 20, and I came back probably when I was like 27.
Okay, so at 27 now, you started training for the Red Bulls. Like, how'd you get to become one of the players for the Red Bulls?
So I moved around a lot in Europe, and if you look at the coaches I played for, they were literally all over 60, and that mentality is just like rah rah rah, no technique, no tactics, no nothing. It was just a lot of like, oh, you're losing because you don't work hard enough, and blah blah blah, whatever. Didn't work for me at all. Didn't even agree with it. Then obviously the other half of it was my performances and what I could have done better, no question. So I bounced around a lot, and I got to a point in my career in Europe where I was like kind of sick of it. As I bounced around from club to club, I had some moments where I did really well and I got some more money, and then I had more moments where I was down and not doing well. So I got to a point where I was just really not into it anymore. I wasn't really going anywhere. I went to Europe because I thought, you know, like every young kid does, like Champions League, national team, millions of dollars, like playing in front of, you know, tons of people and being a star. And it never panned out after like 7 years. I had a good career. I'm very thankful for my career. But it was not what I wanted to be, and I was a little bit tired of it all. So I came back to America thinking that I would play in the MLS.
Okay.
But I came back at a strange time. I came back in, it was like March time, where I came back and the season starts. Preseason is January 20th every year. So teams are set, coaching staffs are set, jobs are set, and these guys have already been training for months. And I show up thinking that a team's going to call me. Nobody called me. Didn't really work the way I thought. And also, I had a few offers, but they wanted to give me the minimum contract, which was like $70,000 a year.
Okay.
And I was making like 4 times that, 5 times that as a bench player in Europe, and you know, so I was like, all right, I'm not going to play anymore. That's it. I'm just going to do something else. Like I got a Duke degree. I'll look into, you know, doing whatever else it may be. And I sort of, again, took some time off and got a phone call from a guy named Jason Kreis, who was going to be the coach at NYCFC, the new team. They were not a team yet. They were coming to be a team. He's a Duke guy. He, through his contacts, whatever, I have never met Jason, but he calls me and says, if you want to train, David Villa is in New York. He's here early. He's our first signing. We need guys to train with him. So fucking nuts, because David Villa, for those who don't know, is a guy who won everything. He's won everything.
Everything. World Cup.
He's won everything.
Champions League. He's won everything. Incredible player.
Incredible player, incredible person as well. Like he's got no bad things on his, like he is just an unbelievable professional. So I got this opportunity to train with him. I'm like 20 pounds overweight, sort of probably what I look like now. And I'm like, fuck it. Like I'll go and train with Villa. Like why not? What an experience. So I was already still over playing. I was over the game, just hated it. I just, when you do it for money and you do it for a living and you do it for so long, I've been playing soccer since I was 3 years old. And it's all I watched. It's all I studied. It's all I loved. It's all, and when it goes on for so long and you go through a lot of downs, you get really sick of it. So I was over it. I started training with Villa. and started getting fitter and fitter and started playing really, really well because I just playing because I felt like I enjoyed it. It was clear that I was really good. I mean, the thing that opened my eyes the most was that Via, one of the best players in the world, was not like that much better than me.
Yeah, gotcha.
And in soccer, you'll see in all sports, you'll see the difference is minimal. It's just he's a little bit quicker, a little bit better finisher, a little bit better at everything, and also way more consistent. So I could see myself like I'm not a million miles away from him. Obviously, I'm not David B. I'm nowhere near. I'm not that bad compared to him. So gave me some inspiration in the way he trained and the way he did stuff and went about his business. Kind of inspired me a little bit. And so I kept training, and it got to the point where I got pretty fit and I was playing really, really well that NYCFC wanted to maybe sign me to a contract. So I was like, wow, this is great. In the meantime, another Duke guy, Ali Curtis, gets the GM job at New York Red Bull.
Okay.
So we speak, and he invites me to preseason. So I tell Jason that they gotta make a decision on me whether they're gonna give me a contract or not. And to be fair to Jason, there's a lot of things going on in NYCFC at the time. A lot of ownership things. They're playing at Yankee Stadium. There's a lot of big money, big guys involved. So it was not that easy for him to just be like, cool, I like you, I signed you. The MLS cap structure is very difficult to get a player in. You need to get the right player at the right time for the right money and all this other stuff. So to be fair to him, it was not easy. So he also invited me to preseason, but the Red Bulls also invited me. So I thought that NYCFC had seen enough of me. So I went to Red Bull.
Okay.
Went to Red Bull. I hit the ground running. I mean, I was super fit, flying, super determined. I was my old self, maybe a better version of my old self. And I met a coach who, to me, was one of my favorite coaches in the world. He's still a guy that I respect so much, is Jesse Marsh.
Okay.
Jesse Marsh was a big inspiration for me. He was young. He's a Princeton guy, intelligent, respected me as a player, respected me as a person. First time I had felt that, I had all these old school coaches. Now I had this young, alive coach with new ideas who liked the way I played. And dude, I was like a fucking rocket. I was unbelievable. So I was playing really well for Red Bull. I signed a 1-year deal there. We win the league in the first year, and I had the second most points in assists and goals as a winger in the entire league, behind my friend Lloyd Sin, who was also on the Red Bulls that year.
Yeah.
So then from there, I signed a 2 or 3-year deal. I don't remember, and then that was it. And then that kind of propelled me into my MLS career, and I did really well in the MLS. So, and then I ended up at Columbus for a year, where I got to work with Greg Berhalter. Do you know who Greg Berhalter is?
I do not. That name doesn't ring a.
Yeah, he's the U.S. national team coach now, the men's national.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's another guy that I got to work with, young, intelligent, tactical mastermind. So the last 2 coaches I worked with were my favorite 2, and they came, unfortunately, at the end of my career. If they had come in the beginning of my career, I think that I could have really hit a new level for myself. I could have really got to the national team, could have got to really high goals, I think, because in my opinion, I was talented enough to do it. But I just think I didn't have the right direction and discipline and ideas and confidence. These guys gave me a lot of confidence.
So that's funny that you said that, because has the U.S. team ever recruited you when you were younger?
Yeah, so I played for the youth national teams since I was 16. I played for the Olympic teams and the youth national teams over in California in IMG Academy. I played for the under-18 team, the under-20 team, up until I was about 19 years old or something like that. And then you've got to make the jump to the men's team, which case I went to Duke, which most college players don't get to play national team because they're just not at a high enough level yet.
Okay.
So when I went to play in Leeds, I was really frustrated at Leeds because I wasn't playing enough, even though I felt like I was good enough. I wasn't playing enough, and then you don't get a call to the national team if you don't play.
Gotcha.
So that was my frustration with a lot of these things in England. That's why I bounced around a lot, because I wanted to get playing to get into the national team. When I started finally playing at Red Bull, after the first season, I played really well. After the second, and I didn't get a call up, which I thought was ludicrous. But that was the era. I don't know if soccer listeners are on. That was like the Klinsmann era, and he only called European players.
Yeah, only European. Yep.
And German players. And even though I was like flying in the MLS, like they would not call me, which really was I hated, obviously. And then the next year, Bruce came in Arena and actually spoke to my agent. My agent was speaking to him, and I was, ready for the January camp. I was going to get called, and I had this little niggle in my knee, and I didn't know it was cartilage damage or anything. I just said to my agent, look, I'll be ready to play in the January camp. I just want to get called up to the national team. Like, it's been a dream of mine, a goal of mine. And I chased it for so long, and I was like legitimately this close. And I went in to do just a scope, where I was told by the doctor that he would just clean it, and I was going to be off and running again after 3 weeks. And it just never went away. Since that day, it basically never went away. I did 4 more surgeries after that, some of them major surgeries, and shots and injections and medicines and yoga and treatment, and just never went away. To this day, I still have that exact same pain. So it's unfortunate, man, but it's part of life. It's part of the game. So.
Dude, that stinks too, because I mean, to play for the U.S. team would have been awesome.
Yeah,
yeah, you're right.
Literally, just give me one cap. You know what I mean?
That'd have been perfect.
I was good enough, but I just for whatever reason, it never happened at the right time for me. And you'll find, like in life and in soccer, yeah, you need to be talented, but you also need to be in the right place at the right time with the right people. Like, a lot of things have to happen in sports, Yeah.
I have. I'm going to get off topic a little bit here.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about your wife being with you when you're in Europe. Did you have the kids at the time too?
No. So it actually ended up crazy situation. Also, these things are just like destined to be, I feel like. I was in Europe for so long. So before I went to Europe, I was in college. So I was away in North Carolina. So I hadn't seen my parents in a long time. Yeah, visits here and there, but like I didn't live with my parents since I was like 17. I come back at 26, 27. So 10 years later, and I signed for the Red Bulls. I come back with my wife, signed with the Red Bulls. This really sweet old lady that lived next door. Actually, I shouldn't lie. She's not that sweet, but next door. I buy her house next door to my parents' house. She was literally moving out. She gave us a great deal on it. It needed to be updated, whatever. We did that, and I get to, after 10 years of traveling all over the world, I get to live next door to my parents, which, we're Italian. We're really like family oriented.
I live across the street from my parents.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're so close that even my in-laws, we're really close. So we're a really tight-knit family. But I get to live next door to them, and I have my first son there in that house next door to my parents. So my parents got to see him being born, got to spend every day with him, got to babysit him. And I had all 3 of my kids there, actually, in that house right next to my parents. They got to be involved in every step of the way. So awesome. I mean, I just couldn't have planned it any other way. So after being away for 10 years, I get to have the most important part of my life right next door. The most important time in my life right next door to my parents, which was awesome. And only 30 minutes away from my in-laws, which was great. So I had all my kids here. And then we all went off to Ohio because I got traded there from the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
And, I had a lot of promises from the doctors who, the head doctor there now bought the team. So he's the owner of the team with the Haslams, the guys who own the
That's interesting.
Yeah, and this guy, Peter Edwards, when I looked at and I researched who he was and what he did as a doctor and everything, it was like a no-brainer for me because I was going to stop playing because I had that pain. But when I saw who he was and the things that he's done and the athletes he's worked with, and he was also very heavily involved in the team, okay, I was like, I'm going. I want to meet this guy. I want to work with him. I want to work with Greg Berhalter. So I went there and took the whole family. Teo, my last guy, Mateo, he was only like 1 month old, and we lugged him over to Ohio. But we had a great time there, met some lifelong friends, and that was it.
Nice. I own a gym in Glen Cove, Viking Performance and Fitness. So I was going to geek out with you a little bit on some of the stuff that you did to stay strong, but
No,
I don't know. I might bore people to death.
No,
if
I kind of actually, that's pretty interesting because that's something I want to know, like, as far as like the nutrition and the workouts that soccer players have to go through.
Yeah.
Like,
So, I mean,
I'm
obviously,
interested in that.
Mike knows better than I do, but I've trained soccer players in the past, and I don't train them like football players. I don't train them like any other athlete. They're a very specific sport. A lot of running, but sprinting as well. Not lightweights, I wouldn't say, because you still want explosive strength, but something that's going to challenge the muscle, and we're going to work on endurance a lot. I mean, you probably have a more specific way of doing things. Is there a way that you can recommend for the young guys coming up to start lifting or cardiovascular
So
training?
when I first started playing, I was like professionally, I was 20, and the game changed so much since then. Like guys come in unfit for preseason, and also rarely we use the gym. Guys were like, it was not a big part of it. My last year playing, gym every single day, every single guy's in the gym, no excuses, working on preventative workouts like to prevent injuries and things to gain strength. During the season, you don't have a lot of time to like basically bulk or get strength or like improve really. During the season, it's a lot of maintenance. It's like before training, you're doing a lot of glute stuff with the rubber bands and a lot of light weights and a lot of quad stuff where you're just sort of doing stuff to prepare yourself for training so that you prevent any injuries in the training pitch. And then in preseason, you're running so much, you don't really have time to like do leg workouts or anything like that. But personally, always hated the gym. Sorry, I know you own a gym. It might be your passion. Hated the gym. Hated it. I was more like, give me the ball. I just want to play. And I tell kids now that I train or that I speak to, it's so important. Like, I know it's boring sometimes and I know it sucks, but it's so important. And some of the guys I got to work with in the past, and I feel bad if I leave anyone out, but Tony at the New York Red Bulls and Brooke Hamilton at Columbus Crew, we worked on a lot of single leg isolated stuff with like cable bands. So like I'm like in a single leg squat and I'm pulling in this direction, and like we're trying to work on all these like little muscles around the knee and in the glutes and stuff like that. So it's not a lot of weight, but it's like in these awkward positions, a lot of squatting, a lot of jumping on boxes.
Stability training is important. I could see where you would have to do a lot of that, especially ankle, knee-driven, hip-driven stuff. I mean, your back is a big part of it. Your core, obviously, because you can't kick a ball hard if you have a weak core. You can't run if you have a weak core. So I definitely could see a lot of that stuff happening. And the band stuff, I mean, I can't speak highly enough about band training, especially when you're an athlete. That kind of resistance is so hard to get with a cable or a dumbbell. But having a band and warming up with a band on the field prior to a game, football player, anything, soccer, basketball, everybody's doing it now, and it's probably one of the best things that you can think of, and it's something that's been around a rubber band's been around forever. So definitely a useful tool.
No, that's the extent of it. I mean, again, I didn't really like dive too much into it. I was not a big gym guy at all, but yeah, definitely the game has changed, guys. That's like a requirement now. You got to be strong. You got to be in the gym. You got to be taking care of your body and your muscles.
You ever cross train at all? Do you ever play any other sports, or you into like a golf or a tennis or anything like that?
No, you don't have. I mean, you really don't have time. So a soccer player season is, we start January 20th and it ends like if you make it to the finals, like December 15th.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and you get 2 weeks off, and then you're running 4 preseason. So you only get like really, if you make it to the final, you get 2 weeks. Most teams get like maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks off, and then you're starting again. So you never have time with all the travel and all the work and stuff. And in the MLS, you play in the summer, so you playing in 85, 100-degree weather some games. So you're beat. Like I said, it's mainly once you're at that level, it's all about like maintenance all the way through, and you have a very short amount of time for rest and a very short amount of time for like improving your physical abilities. So no, I never cross-trained until after I stopped playing. I got into golf because it's something that kept me competitive. It's something that I could do without further hurting my knee. So I got into golf and love golf now. I golf as much as I possibly can in a week.
So what about nutrition-wise? Did your nutrition change during your European soccer days to your MLS soccer days?
Yeah, I mean, depending on who the coach was, a coach would bring in a nutritionist, and the nutritionist would have their regime. So at Leeds, which was surprising, like we didn't really have a nutritionist, so we were like crushing food. But because we run so much and we're so fit, I mean, you kind of get away with it. So I never really had anything at Leeds, which was, at least in my time there. I'm sure maybe now it's different. But at my last clubs, like at Columbus, we were strictly on a keto diet.
Really? Keto for an athlete. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, it was Steve Tatcherwan is another guy I forgot to mention, who's awesome guy. But he put us on the keto diet, and I mean, it's the idea, I guess, is to burn fat or run off of protein instead of running off of carbohydrates, I guess.
Real quick, basically what it does is it keeps you producing growth hormone as long as possible, 1. 2, it helps you burn most of your calories from fat. Depending, if guys like you, leaner guys, they're going to burn a little muscle too. I mean, it's going to happen no matter what diet you're on. You're going to eat away a little bit of muscle. And the only thing I'm weary about with the keto diet, which I don't have to get into a debate about it, but it just dehydrates you a lot. I don't know if you felt that when you were eating like that, like where you felt like you couldn't get enough water in, and then that sometimes leads to injuries. So that's the only reason I was shocked that someone would actually put somebody.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I mean, I know the guys like you, and that you guys know a lot about dietary stuff and nutrition stuff, and I never really dived too deep into it. To be honest, probably something that I could have really improved on was my eating. Come from an Italian family like you, sopressata, pizza, coffee, pasta.
So good.
And dude, I mean, every off season I would eat like crazy, and then obviously I would get super fit again. But I never ever was like, oh, I can't have that. Like never. Like I just ate basically what I wanted. I wouldn't say that I ate bad, but I definitely ate a lot of prosciutto, a lot of mortadella, a lot of bread. So
you're burning it off. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
I mean, for me, I felt like I give it to my son. I give it to my kids because I feel like, I don't know, maybe because I grew up on it, but I feel like when I eat that stuff, I feel strong, you know, I feel good. And I was always like a powerful guy with not really like too much working out. Like, yeah, I did push-ups, sit-ups every day, like the bare, you know, basics, like 300 sit-ups a day, 200 push-ups a day. Like that was like standard, par for the course. That's like just maintenance. So I guess I built strength through that. But the way I ate, man, I just like always ate good. Like I always ate a lot. Yeah. And I was always really strong. I always had a really good frame. And I mean, I haven't met a lot of guys who can just like easily push me off the ball, you know? So I don't know. Everyone's different. Everyone believes.
Everybody has. I mean, I've been in the personal training and gym business for fucking 25 years now, basically.
At least.
And I mean, every 2 years you get a new diet that's everybody's doing. Every 2 years you got a new workout everybody's doing. And then, you know, you have the guys that stick with what works, you have the guys that try everything new. So really, if you're just doing something and you're eating enough to sustain you and you're working out enough so you're not getting hurt, really that's the best way to go. I mean, everybody responds differently to different stimuli. So I mean,
no, that's true. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I know it's interesting for sure. Yeah, with the keto stuff, I felt like that was the time that I was out for like a year and a half. So when I got back, I don't know if I just felt weak because I hadn't, you know, I was out for so long and it was the first injury in my career, or if it was the keto diet because, you know, coming from an Italian kid who was like literally crushing carbs all the time, never had a problem with it. I mean, I was super fit. And then all of a sudden, there's no carbs. I don't know if that's maybe why I felt like a little weak. You know, I felt like after an hour, I was always just like really like light and like I just felt
100%. 100%. I was a bodybuilder for a while, and basically that's what bodybuilders do is they do keto diets. Yeah. And then you start to find yourself as you go along through those diets, you lose a lot of strength and you don't feel strong or full always. You always kind of like, you're always feeling like a little empty, like you're saying, and a little bit behind the 8 ball on strength. I mean, maybe the guy had a valid reason for doing it. Who knows? I would have to talk to the guy for.
Yeah, he's like a mad scientist, man. You and him would probably talk for hours on end. I mean, he really dives into a lot of stuff. He's such an intelligent guy. I mean, But when it comes to dietary stuff, it's each their own. I think it's pretty random, and I think people respond differently to it too. Whether it's a mental component or an actual physical component, some people just respond differently to it as well.
I mean, you couldn't have been getting great food in Leeds either. I mean, they boil everything over there, don't they?
I gotta say, man, it's funny. Like the food was not great in England. But you do get a lot of you get like a lot of authentic Italians because Italy's not far, so you get a lot of like places like Italian restaurants that are actual Italian people in there, and you can get some good food. And then there's a few spots that were okay, but for the most part, I don't think they're gonna be famous for their food.
You're from Storno, right? Your family's from Storno?
Storno, yeah, we're from Storno. Yeah.
Same as me. I mean, I think everybody except for Mondo because he's one of those. But
thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to Avellino for a wedding in August. Hopefully everything's opening up.
Yeah, I think you'll be all right, man. I think you'll be all right. But yeah, Italy's a great place. Storno's a great place. So I still got some family over there that they're so great, man. I get video. We're not so close, but I get videos from them. All my little cousins growing up. It's really nice. Really nice.
You play. I mean, you mentioned it. Obviously, playing in Italy is that like?
But you didn't play in Italy, correct?
No, I had the opportunity to when I opted out of the MLS. I had an opportunity to go to Brescia, or I had an opportunity to go to Leeds United, and I don't know why. It just was like I felt like I had encounters with Italian agents and Italian clubs before. And no disrespect to them, but I always just felt like it was like, oh, yeah, just talk to this guy. And then you go to talk, and then it was just like, yeah, well, you're set. Just, I speak to this. And it's kind of like getting the runaround a little bit. And I was
very Italian.
You know how Italian
Yeah.
My dad's a great guy.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know if it's his sense of communication or like his sense of like whatever it is, but like even it just kind of was like not clear. It's not clear like what's going on and and in England it's the opposite. It's like you come here, this is the situation. If you do this, this is what you get. Like it was like, and at the time I was watching a lot of English Premier League and I see these young kids and they get in England, if you play well, the sky's the limit. You make a lot of money. So I was just like, I'm gonna go try it for Leeds, and then the history of the club and them being in League One, I was like, wow, this could be an awesome opportunity if I could play a bigger part in getting them up, because like Leeds United they're going up. Like this year they're going to the Premiership for the first time.
Yeah, and that's going to be incredible.
It's going to be incredible. Like the explosion in that city is going to be incredible, and I just thought that I could be part of that, so that's why I ended up going to England. In England, the money is probably 3 times of what you get in Italy at every level. So if you're like a bench guy or whatever.
Absolutely.
Why would that be though? Is it just the investment from the owners, or
they get a lot of TV money?
Okay.
A lot.
Their fans are packed. The stadiums are packed every game because they're super safe and very.
And their economy is much better.
I heard in Italy they pay in prosciutto though.
They pay
like there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
They do.
Yeah, you get a bag of mozzarella with every contract.
Did you see the picture of the Barcelona guys? They went to play in where'd they play against Naples or whatever? I think it was the Barcelona team, and they all were going back with like these big cases of fresh mozzarella. Yeah, you're not going to beat Italy on food. My dad's actually a chef, so I ate good my whole life, but you're not going to beat the Italians on food. But yeah, it was a shame. I really wanted to go to Italy and play. And then at the very end of my career, I had an opportunity to go to Venezia. Hold on one second, I'm on the phone. I don't know. So I had a chance to go to Venezia and play for Filippo Inzaghi, was the coach.
Yeah, which I mean, right now he's the. Yeah, so he was the president of Venezia at the time, or still is?
He was either the GM or working very closely to the GM. Again,
correct.
The Italian, like, not clear of what's going on.
Absolutely.
But the money was not worth me going back to Europe. I had already settled here. I had my 3 kids already, and when we started talking finances, I was just like,
yeah, but when you picked, if it was between Brescia and Leeds United, I would have done the same exact thing and went to Leeds United. Even though I'm a huge Italian, soccer fan, I've been watching Serie A pretty much since I was 6 years old. So I still would have picked Leeds United just because of their history.
Oh yeah, I mean,
like a downside.
I don't regret it. I mean, I would have loved to play in Italy because that's where my family's from, and that's the way I grew up, very Italian. But I'm happy that I went to Leeds but listen, both places were trial as well, so it was not like I had contracts sitting on both tables. For me, I was just like, all right, if it doesn't work down in England, I'll go to Italy or something,
Yeah.
But it just, man, once I played my first reserve game for Leeds and I scored a hat trick. And from there, man, my phone was blowing up. My agent's phone was blowing up. And I actually had other offers, actually higher in the championship and some lower league Prem teams that were basically inviting me over to them because there's so many scouts. So when I scored those 3 goals and I looked really good, teams were like, oh, here we go. Like, they really wanted me. But again, only invitations to come to training. And to me, I was like, at Leeds, put something solid on the table. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I just want to sign and settle. And
how about after that? How about after that fastest goal in history? Did you get a lot of press after that?
You'd be surprised, man. Not really, to be honest with you. Not really. I scored in 7 seconds, which is the league's fastest goal in history.
You can join the interview.
What's up,
if you
little
like.
guy?
Oh, let me just put a shirt on for her.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, so he scored the fastest goal in MLS, which is 7 seconds. Is that still the record?
That is still the record.
I mean, how do you get faster than 7 seconds? I mean,
you'd have to kick the ball as soon as the ball got dropped.
Yeah, you just you kick it from the center line.
If you watch the play, the other team has the ball, Philadelphia Union. They pass it back to the midfielder. Both midfielders fall asleep, and I just take off from the get-go and get it. So it's going to be very hard to be beat. It will be beat one day by somebody who just has to kick it from the middle and catch the goalkeeper not paying attention, which will happen. But the fastest goal in 7 seconds, and I have the ball actually. I have the ball right here.
Nice. Were you on SportsCenter for that? Did that make the?
I'm not sure if it was on SportsCenter.
That's actually a really good question because I don't. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So this is the actual ball that I scored the fastest goal in MLS history. But I scored a goal that was number 1 on SportsCenter against Benfica in a friendly match, which was a pretty good goal. But that was the only time I think I was on SportsCenter. I don't think this got much.
That hat trick was what? Painters Cup?
Actually, it was just a reserve game. It was just a Leeds United reserve game with some, the reserve teams are mixed with like young kids that are prospects and also like professionals that are not playing enough minutes. So I forget who we played against, but we played in Ellen Road and I was just on fire. I mean, I was just looked great and scored 3 goals. And then from there, it was just took off.
That's really cool. It's cool, right?
Yeah.
No,
I love soccer, so I was telling him, I was trying to amp him up because.
But I don't trust anything Mondo says, so I mean, who could?
Great, I appreciate that. But I really do. I love soccer, like we talked before. Like, who's your favorite Serie A team?
Juventus is my favorite.
Of course, because I hate them more than anything.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm Napoli.
Oh, you're an
Yeah. I will always be. So I don't. If you know, Juventus. I think everybody hates Juventus because they're like the best team.
Is that why you like them? Because you want to be contrarian? Or?
No,
they're like the Yankees.
They're like the Yankees.
Oh.
So you love the Yankees, and I despise the Yankees. So they're like that. Juventus is just this top-notch team, and everybody is trying to catch them every year.
Well, I would say the Italians are trying to catch them, but they haven't been so successful in Europe, which has been a letdown.
Yeah, I mean, listen, as far as Champions League is concerned, I do root for all the Italian teams just because it makes Serie A better.
Same.
So I do root for them.
Mm-hmm.
But
you got to root for your home team. I mean, no matter what, you got to root for – I mean –
So
that's why I root for New York teams. I mean, that's why you root for New York teams. If you're from Italy, you root for Italian teams. I mean, when I don't watch soccer like he's saying, but when the World Cup would come on, I would always root for the Italian team, probably over the U.S. team. I don't know why.
Yeah, me too.
I always felt like I had more affinity to them.
Yeah, same exact thing. I root for the Italian team. And obviously I root for USA, but it's always been Italy. I've only rooted for them. It's like I have this gravitational pull towards them. I don't know.
We're all in the same boat. I think you'll agree with me is that you guys are born here, right? In America?
Yeah, I'm first generation here.
So like we're born in America, right? So to the Italian people, our family in Italy and everything else, they're like, oh, you guys are American, you know? and then, you know, and to your American friends, you're Italian because you grew up like super Italian and you don't even know half of the American, like my wife knows all these songs and TV shows but I don't even know what the hell she's talking about half the time. I only know like Italian stuff, you know? So we're like somewhere in the middle, man. We're somewhere in the middle. So it's strange, that dynamic that we always root for the Italian national team. I felt that growing up too. I don't know why. Maybe because that '94 World Cup, they really like, obviously they did really well, made it to the finals, so they were inspirational. But I always found myself also, but I root for both, you know?
Yeah, so do I. Just like you said, though, it's just that gravitational pull towards the Italian team. I don't know, and I can't even explain why. I just maybe because you grow up watching the players in Serie A, and then you're like, you have this like
that's probably why. I mean, that's
you have a connection. You know, like I don't.
It creates it releases some dopamine and endorphins in your brain when you see stuff that reminds you of childhood, and that usually makes you want to follow something like that. It's a psychological thing.
I mean, and everyone around you, you know, your grandparents, your mother, your father, they're all rooting for Italy. You're a kid, you do what they do, so that's probably why you associate, you know, that to that. But yeah, I root for both teams. Hopefully, the American team can get a little better with Greg in charge. I know he's such a smart guy. He's going to figure it out. He's going to make them a better team. But seems like they need a little bit more, you know, just like grit, you know?
Yeah, gotcha. So is there any, like this is something final, I guess. Is there any advice you would give for someone who is trying to make the jump to the U.S. to playing over in Europe? Because I see a lot of like Americans, they're playing for German side teams first. Looks like everyone's going towards that direction because of Klinsmann. Is there any advice you would be able to give them to make the jump to the next level?
So you're talking about like pro players to make the jump to which level? Like jumping from America to Europe or Europe?
Yeah, correct. Just America to Europe, 17, 18-year-old kids, fresh out of high school, college. Is there any advice you would give them?
So what's happening, just so you know, and the listeners, is the MLS like used to be a league that was considered by most it was like not a serious league, and nobody would ever come to the MLS that was under 30 years old that was not going to get paid a lot of money.
Correct.
It's like drastically changed. I mean, I'm scouting for FC Cincinnati. There's a lot of young South Americans, like really good players, Brazilians, Argentinians, really high talented players that want to come to MLS because the MLS is proving to be a platform where players are able to like play really, really well and then get signed off to big contracts overseas or even make that money here now. The MLS has really grown like drastically in that way. But for a player that wants to make a step up, it's literally just being devoted and working hard every single day. I watch a Jordan documentary and he said something along the lines of, it's 3 hours a day. There's 24 hours in a day. It's 3 hours a day that you have to put your head down and like really work. Like that's it. That seems so small when you think about it for what it can give you if you consistently work hard 3 hours a day at your craft, you know? So during that 3 hours or during when you walk, just work, just having the discipline, having the commitment, and having the belief in yourself. I think I've probably wasted a lot of time worrying and wondering, am I good enough? Am I going to make it? Am I going to make it to this level? Am I going to do this? Is this going to work out for me? Like, you can't control the intangibles. You got to only control what you can control. And that's your work rate. It's your attitude every day. And you'd be so surprised that if you walk around the world doing the right thing, helping people out and doing the right thing and talking to people and just being a good guy, like there's this thing that there's this energy that you give off that, and it just comes back to you and like good things start happening for you. So just aside from being a good soccer player, like walk around and just be a good guy every single day and look to help people out when you can. I think that goes a long way. If there's something to say about it, it definitely propels you into being successful in your own life also.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on the show.
My pleasure, guys.
To me, it's awesome. I loved it.
Thanks for
I definitely wanted to learn more about, how you made it to Europe and stuff like that. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, hey guys, my pleasure, man. Anything else I could do for you? You have my number. Feel free to call me, Dave. It's great to spend an hour with you, man.
Yep, definitely, man.
Awesome,
Good talking to you. We'll catch up soon.
All right, fellas. Take care.
Thank you. So pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, he was a nice guy.
I know.
Soccer is still not going to be my favorite sport in the whole world, but he was definitely a nice dude, and his story was interesting, which I can appreciate a good story. And he gave me some insight into some of the stuff. The money is just insane for soccer, though.
Well, it's insane overseas.
Yeah.
Just because I know we didn't touch base with him, but like, if you sign a contract with the team, right, and you're highly scouted and you're really wanted by another team,
yeah,
you can actually negotiate with the team to buy you.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, like let's say you played for a club and you did really well, and I wanted you on my club.
Yeah,
I would have to negotiate with your club and say, let's say I pay $80 million to release you from your contract. So if I paid $80 million, I pay it to the club and you're released, and now you sign a contract with me and you can play with me.
cool.
That's not around here. Like, it's not like that. For
No,
baseball, basketball.
Yeah, and there's always trade deadlines, and it's always some sort of political thing. And I get it. And there's so many freaking soccer teams out there. I mean, Jesus, if you're in the NFL, there's X amount of teams. But soccer, you can go to Europe and play in 20 different countries and play for the MLS here. So there's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's still a lot of money even in the lower tier things.
Correct.
I mean, he was saying $70,000, $100,000 to play in the MLS. I mean, you're playing soccer professionally in the United States, making $100,000 a year. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know. And like he said, he started on League One. Like League One is the third division in England, still getting paid pretty well. Then you're jumping up to the champions, and then eventually, if you get to the Premier League, forget it. You're making a decent amount of money there. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty interesting to see.
I'm done talking to you though for
cool.
the day. So,
I
think we're gonna end it. I'll sign it off since Mondo signed us in. Thank you for joining us on Mondo and the Big Guy. We'll see you soon.